Hello there.
Hi,
My name's Nick,
I'm Brittany.
and welcome to episode 1 of a BJJ Marriage, a vlog and podcast that we plan on putting together for you guys on a semi-regular basis. So, episode 1 this week, we want to talk about Brittany's competition that just happened last weekend and introduce ourselves a little bit. So, my name's Nick Lee, and this is my wife, Brittany. We've been married for a year and a half
Yeah,
or something.
yeah. Been together for how long? How long have we been together?
I don't know, like 7 years.
He doesn't know.
A little bit.
In May it'll be about 7 years.
Yeah, and we've been training jiu-jitsu together for about a year and a half at this point.
Yeah, about.
A year and a half for her. She's a 3-stripe white belt, and I've been training about 3 years in a 3-stripe blue belt.
Has it really been 3 years?
Something like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Time
I don't know.
flies.
Yep, but it's been fun. And obviously we spend a lot of time coming to the gym together.
Obviously. Because you totally know that.
And we want to share snippets of that with you guys.
Yeah. So I guess the biggest reason that we started talking about doing this in the first place was just because not only do we train and we love it, we just want to talk about it and our experiences, but also I feel like it's empowering me being a female in the sport that is definitely male dominated, and how to go about that scenario and what to do in different types of situations, whether you're stuck in some position or you're leading up to a competition or your training partners at the gym or pretty much any scenario. So I thought it would be cool to share my insight being a smaller female on the mats and also not very experienced versus someone who is just another fish in the pond here in
Yeah.
the jiu-jitsu community.
Yeah, I'm
He's
nothing
very-
special at a 170-pound blue belt.
Yeah, I mean, he's very good. I'm not gonna discredit that at all, but he's just another blue belt male in the jiu-jitsu world. So he's
Yep.
just here to give his insight too.
Yeah. But yeah, so we spent a lot of time together on the mats. And specifically last weekend, Brittany had her second competition, which she did awesome at. She went 4-0 for the day and got a gold medal in gi, which was fantastic. But there's tons of emotion that lead up to a competition that stand out because it just happened last week. And we just kind of wanted to go through that and let you guys know what to expect if you ever plan on competing, or why you should compete, or maybe talk about the things that hold people back from competing. And those are all important topics to discuss if you even think about stepping out there. Because I'd say at least like 75% of people that train jiu-jitsu never get out on the mats and go compete. You know, for every one person you see in a match, they have like 20 or 30 training partners in their gym that are just not competing or are not going to compete.
Yeah, I say at our gym here in Wisconsin, we have about 105, 110 members here in total, and I think only like 20 of us have ever really like competed, and we probably only have 5 who do it on a consistent basis.
Yeah, I'm part of the core competition team along with my buddy Dave, Miguel, Tyler.
Adam Conley has been doing it.
Mm-hmm. It's a great crew. And
Nick Bontempo.
yep,
We have quite a
Bontempo is
few-
out there. Yep.
Quite a few competitors here, but we definitely have a lot of people who don't. And I know a lot of females here. We do have a steady amount of females here. We probably have around like 15 to 20 out of the 100. So again, smaller majority, but a good population.
And that's just adults. We also have a lot of
kids.
Yeah, girls.
lots of kids. But I was just talking to another female at the gym, Lori, shout out Lori, and we were just talking about how she possibly wants to compete in the future and how we need to build her up and get ready for that. And I told her, I was like, I will be there, I will help you, I will do competition rules, I'll train, I'll drill with you, whatever you need, because it is completely different on those mats versus your training mats.
And even when you're doing your competition rolls in the gym, the actual competition just feels like 10 times more difficult, more nerve-inducing, anxiety-inducing.
Yeah.
The emotions that you feel are crazy, and you don't get that amount of training in the gym ever.
No.
And our coach, well, her father-in-law, no, my father-in-law, her dad. I always get that mixed up.
My dad
somehow.
runs the gym.
And he always says that every match that you go out and compete in is like 30 classes in that 5, 6, 7 minutes, however long that match is.
Yep.
Which is crazy because some days you'll get like, my first competition, I had 12 matches, which was insane for my first competition. I was like a white belt with like one stripe, and I was like, what is going on? But
Yeah.
I learned so much from that competition, and I feel that every competition I've ever been into, I've taken away so much from it. Even if I went undefeated in the day, I brought back so many lessons of I wasn't able to capitalize in this position. I wasn't able to finish this submission. I didn't know what to do when I got caught here. It took me too long to fight out of that. And those lessons, when you bring that back to the gym, you and all your training partners work on it. And as a result, you and your circle all grow.
Yeah.
There's a famous quote there, a rising tide raises all ships. And that's what I like to think about with competition.
How many competitions do you think you've done in total in your 3 years?
I think about 10 competitions so far. I have about 60 matches, and I think I'm like 50 and like 18, or like 45 and 18, somewhere around there.
Okay, so for a person who's been doing this for a while now, 3 years is a while, and you've done 10 competitions, what do you think your biggest obstacle is when you're getting ready for a competition?
Getting ready for competition, my biggest obstacle is diet. Diet is super important to make weight.
Yeah.
You know, especially in the male brackets, 170, 185 to 210 is super competitive, and that's where you're going to get your people that are very strong. And I used to compete in the 185 division, and I used to weigh around 180 on average, and I was like, I'm not going to worry about my weight. And a lot of those people I encountered were just super strong, and it was very difficult. Or they were much taller than me.
But you were also super strong.
Yes, I'm also super strong, but that's not the essence of jiu-jitsu either,
Right.
Strength. But
That's
it plays a
different.
huge factor in competition.
Especially in a white belt competition.
Yes, white belts where there's less technique, and everybody's a spazzy white belt until they're not, but most of them still are.
Yeah.
And when you put strength behind the spaz, you get some issues there. But
And we want to talk about all of these things. So I think a lot of our episodes are going to just talk about all the different concepts that go into jiu-jitsu. Just our first one, just because the competition was last weekend, we really want to emphasize on that a little bit more on this one. So
Right.
if you do want to hear us talk about anything specific, just let us know, and I'm sure we'll bring it up in the future.
drop it in the comments.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I started cutting down to 170. So I'd say my biggest thing is diet and weight, which she helps out a ton with diet because I don't know shit for food, honestly. But what would you say your biggest obstacle is for getting to competition?
The pressure. 100% the pressure. Because
Expectations?
yeah, definitely. And it's definitely all in my head. And I know that it's an obstacle that I need to get through myself. It's not really anything that people can really do for me or help me out with. It's just something that I need to build up on and figure out, and how to not let the insecurities come out. Because, I mean, I am just a white belt, but at the same time,
A hot sucker.
Yeah, right. I train a lot, and I feel like my jiu-jitsu is pretty solid when I'm training in the gym, but then when you step on those mats, you're going against a person that you have possibly never met before, that you have possibly never rolled with before, that you know nothing about their jiu-jitsu style, and it can be a complete 180 from yours. Whereas at the gym, you're so comfortable, you know who you're training with, you know what their moves are, you know what they're going to do next, and you know what their challenges are going to be. But when you're going against someone that you have no idea who they are or what they do, I mean, there's always the possibility, and there's always the factor of risk and getting injured and losing. And that's a
Yep.
lot of pressure to face up to, especially because, I mean, we did say that my dad owns the gym, and he's a first-degree black belt, and he's been training for 19 years. So I've been only training for a year and a half. That's a whole different story, but
She was late to the game.
I train under my father.
Everybody's
who,
biggest regret is not starting jiu-jitsu earlier.
Yes, 100%.
So
But-
start.
Right
But,
now. Right now. Come right now. But no, my dad's been training for 19 years, and then I have a husband who is pretty freaking phenomenal on the mats, and it's just a lot to live up to. And I know that no one expects really anything out of me, but in my own head, the pressure of it really stresses me out. So as Nick mentioned earlier in this, that this was my second competition, and I remember
Mhm.
feeling like this with my first one, But I was just telling myself, I'm like, it's my first competition. Of course I'm going to freak out. I have no idea what to expect. And when I originally signed up for the second one, I was like, oh, it's going to be easier. It's going to be better because I now know what I'm doing. And yeah, that aspect of now knowing what the adrenaline rush is like and knowing what the mats feel like and knowing what your opponents are probably going to do to you was definitely better, but that pressure did not go away. I still felt like I needed to go out there and I needed to represent my school, represent my dad, represent myself as a female white belt. Like, I felt like there was a lot on my shoulders that I had to live up to. And although people don't care whether you really win or lose, as long as you're out there and learning, it's still that anxiety pressure of it is something that I want to work on myself and also help every other person who wants to compete work on as well.
Right, and we're just going to like local tournaments around the area. They're just traveling like Grappling Industries, Fuji, stuff like that. So we haven't even, stepped out to any IBJJF competitions or
Worlds, Pan Ams,
or anything like that. That's plans for the future, possibly. But I can't imagine what the pressure is for something like that, or for like the top tier athletes who actually have a following, who actually have expectations from the people that they consider fans or supporters. That level of pressure has to be on a whole nother level that, hopefully I'll experience one day, but we'll find out.
We actually know a girl, Joanna, and she is a now brown belt. Congrats, Joanna. But I remember when she was training in Wisconsin, she's in Iowa now, but when she was in Wisconsin, she was getting ready for a really big competition. Like, she was in that super fancy poster where it was her and the other girl, and they were both purple
super fight,
belts.
like a fight to win.
One of those, and I remember talking with her, and she was freaking out, but she was like trying to keep her cool. She was just like, yeah, it'll be interesting. And I was like, no, you got this. And she was like, I don't know, like it's gonna be tough. And I was like, no, you got it. And she went out there, and she did triangular within like 30 seconds. So she did have it.
Yep.
But she is a phenomenal jiu-jitsu practitioner, and even she still feels the pressure.
Yeah.
It doesn't really go away, I don't think. You just have to learn how to deal with it.
It's something you learn to manage.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing with that is managing expectations in general is a huge part of life. And, putting that in a realistic scenario of what to expect or what not to expect, or at best, just getting rid of all expectations and treating it as a journey is the best way to go about that. But that's much easier said than done.
Yes.
The best way that you're going to go into a competition is loose, ready to play your game. You know what you're good at. You know typically what happens in jiu-jitsu. You know what people do to defend your stuff in your own gym. But the best way to go about it is just be loose, go in there, and put out your best work.
Yeah.
The way you don't want to go into there is, go in there and say, I have this one takedown I'm going to do. I have this one submission that I'm going to go for, and these are my best things. Well, yes, you can have those things prepared, but how much in life actually happens to plan, to whatever we plan, just in general, right? Somebody's always going to throw a wrench in there. It's going to get messed up a little bit, and then you're going to have to adapt. So, try not to get into a one-track mind. Try to just stay loose, stay calm, breathe. I like to meditate a little bit before my matches if I can, even if it's just like 30 seconds. Just sit there, close my eyes, take some deep breaths.
I also tried that.
It helps clear your head a little bit. A lot of people use music.
Helping a lot. I know Dave specifically brings his headphones every single time and just shuts out the world around him, and he just wants to listen to his music. I don't know what he listens to, but I know me, I listen to like super hard dubstep just to like try to get me fired up and try to get me going and all that amped up. I actually have a competition playlist on my Spotify where, I don't compete much, but for when I do, it has to amp me up. And for the last one, I remember
get
just
you fired up.
Yeah, laying down, listening to my headphones, and I was like, all right, I can do this. I can do this. I'm not gonna die.
Yeah, I specifically love listening to Beartooth when I get amped up for any competition.
Yep.
They make me feel on fire.
Yeah. But competition, it's scary. It's definitely, it gets you out of your comfort zone, especially because you probably are more comfortable in your gym than you would be going against someone you don't know who's literally trying to murder you.
Yep, or break your limbs.
Yeah.
And they will until the ref tells you to stop.
Yeah,
so
they don't
it's also hard to trust the ref. A lot of refs at these tournaments are just not experienced enough to handle it and let things go way too much for what they should. But you
Don't
know.
scare people.
I mean, that's all part of competition. That's the things
Yeah.
that lead up to you being nervous. Risk of
Yeah.
injury is pretty high. You know, we're all adults. Nobody's getting paid to do jujitsu. We're all paying to do jujitsu.
To get
and
better.
to get out there and compete. You know, it's not like we're doing it for anything really except for our own growth and to test ourselves.
Mhm.
So it's better to have that mindset versus, you know, I need to win because coach said that I have the best guillotine in the in the region. So,
Yeah.
you know, so expectations are always something to manage. And at best, you just have no expectations. You go in there ready to learn, have fun. If you win, that's great. If not, there's always lessons, right? And that's something people always say
Yep.
about competition. You win or you learn.
Yep.
And then, so they say, what, winners never learn?
Did I say that?
No, it's a joke.
I was gonna say, I was like, I won and I learned so much. And that's the cool thing about competition too, is I went out there and I did pretty freaking well for my rank, my size, all that stuff. Like
She did great.
the first 3 matches, I was beating those girls up. Like I went 11-1, and then I got the next 2 as submissions. Like it was a pretty dominant match, but at the same time, like just because I won, just because I knew what I was doing in that moment, we were watching back on my videos, and I was like, wow, why did I go that way? Or why did I do that? Like there's so much that I missed in that step, because just when you're under all of that, I'm not going to say pressure, but I guess just being out there, like you just kind of forget when you're wanting to do things, and then you rewatch and you're like, wow, I should have really done that instead. And so yeah, I did win, but I also learned so many things, and there's so much to always grow from it and always to work on afterwards too.
Yeah, definitely. But it's super fun also.
It is.
I love the adrenaline
Kind of.
rush. So, yeah, kind of, she says. But it's almost like an adrenaline high you get for every match. You know, you're waiting for the ref to call you out in the match, and you know that you gotta go balls to the wall.
Yeah.
But not necessarily balls to the wall, but you've got to put everything into your technique that you can.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so a lot of times when you're rolling, you're not going to use your strength 100 times, or most of the times when you're training. But competition and competition rules, yeah, you're going to add that into there because you want your technique backed up with as much power as you can put into it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're trying to win. That's pretty
Absolutely.
much the essence of it. Like, yeah, you want to learn, but you're also trying to win. You want that medal. People want that medal. Like, that medal is a sense of accomplishment. It's a sense of, I actually do know what I'm doing a little bit. Like, it's a pride thing, but it's also a very humbling thing too, I think. Like, what do you do with all your medals?
I have them in a box at my house. And I have my white belt ones in a box and my blue belt ones in a separate bag. But we're going to be, you know, putting something together so we can display them eventually.
Yeah, and it's going to be just a sense of accomplishment, like I said. We're planning on getting a board, actually, and putting the medals underneath each other in this fashion, this order. And the board, because they were his white belt medals, is going to be a white board with a black stripe on the bottom, like a white belt is. And then we're going to date underneath it and write what dates he got the medals at. And then we're going to do the same for his blue belts, and same for his purples and browns, and so on and so forth. That's our plan.
She thinks I'm going to get a purple and brown belt someday. What a joke.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, but medals are super fun, and it's good to look back at your accomplishments and say, wow, I actually put myself out there, I tested myself, and I actually was able to get a medal.
Yeah.
You know?
There's-
I'm not going to lie, I hate silver medals.
It's like, it sucks.
I have so many silver medals, and I'm just like, this is bullshit.
But you learn from it. You learn from all of those. And I bet you all the reasons that you got your silver medals, you haven't gotten a silver medal because of that reason again.
Yep.
Bet you.
Yeah, I know that when I was a white belt, there was a match that I lost by points, and I was on bottom side control, and I could not get out. I couldn't sweep or reverse. I couldn't regard, and if I did regard, they would just pass my guard again and go right into side control. So for the next 3 months, I started every roll in bottom side control so that I could figure out how to get out from there
Yep.
and test myself in my worst area. And I saw George St. Pierre talk about, or John Danaher talks about how George St. Pierre always did that in training. So if you were to go into a training camp for George St. Pierre, multi-time, greatest of all time UFC champ, he would always train on the things that he was not great at. So if you went to look at him training, you would always think that he's getting dominated and he's losing and he should not be a champion. Well, history tells us that is not the way it played out.
Yep.
He was great in his great positions, but he also had a good base in his weak positions because he would train those specifically because he knew he was weak in them.
Yeah.
And I did that with side control. And I can tell you right now, people tell me I feel like an octopus and it's like trying to hold down water when I'm under them now.
Because you practice so much. And I did the same thing with my competition. I remember I was stuck in front headlock. Some girl had me just sprawled out on my back in a front headlock position, and I could not move. I was stuck there for probably a minute, and I didn't know what to do from there. I had to wait for her to move in order for me to figure out what to do. And that was almost a year ago now, and I don't get stuck in front headlock anymore because I drilled it all the time. Every time I started a roll, I was like, put me in front headlock. I need to figure out how to get out this. Every time we asked a question, how do I get out of front headlock? What is a different way I can do this? What if that doesn't work? So it's just really, I say competition really highlights your strengths and weaknesses. It puts it just right there on a silver platter for you to figure it out. And always record your matches, Austin.
Record your matches so that you can review them later, even if you win. Like she says, she looks at them. I look at all my matches, and one of the things that I do actually to lead me up to competition is I look at recent matches. So I look at my last competition, I'll look at a competition from a year or 2 years ago, and I'm like, wow, I was an idiot. But then I remember, like, okay, I've progressed a ton from those matches, and this is what went wrong in my last matches, and I have specifically worked on that. So I am prepared. And if you go out and compete, you're probably pretty good at jiu-jitsu too. So, don't knock yourself before you even get out there.
Yep. I always like to tell, so we have a bunch of kids in the gym who like to compete too. And kids are very emotional and they get very upset because they only see it as winning or losing. Like if they win, they're awesome. If they lose, they suck. Like that's just how they see it in their brains. And I always have to remind them that no, you are out there, you are competing. Even if you get demolished on the mat, you still did more than the other kid in the gym who hasn't even thought about competition. Like it's a huge step in your jiu-jitsu career to get out on those mats. I really firmly believe that. And I think you do get better. And there's so much that goes into a competition. Like this is not even gonna scratch the surface of everything that goes into preparing for a competition and getting ready for your diet and getting ready for what gi you're even going to wear that day and what you're going to eat that morning and what you're going to do leading up so that you're not sore for it, or what you're going to do, like what your game plan is, and if your game plan doesn't work, how much you've drilled, who you've worked with, how your body types work against a different person. Like there's so many factors that go into competition that you can't really, unless you're Dave, just choose, I'm going to compete next weekend. Like, there's really so much that goes into it, and that's why I really do want to express to any, especially female, like male too, but like especially female, if you're thinking about competing and you're here at Fluid, let me help you. And I know Ellie has competed, Laura's competed, like they are both also, I'm not going to say experts, but they're in the same boat I am, where they've done a couple competitions, they've got it under their belt. We can help you. So if you're thinking about competing, let me know and we'll get you ready.
It's a great way to put yourself out there. It's a great way to learn, even if you win, like I said. And I love it. I love the feeling of it. I love the adrenaline dump. I love the highs. I love the lows.
Yeah.
I love the atmosphere. I love that it's just chaotic everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
It's super fun.
It's crazy. And like I said, the whole vibe is just different too. So a prime example here at Fluid is we have a woman here who's in her 50s. She is super amazing. Everyone loves Tracy. Like she is just a fantastic human being inside and out.
Boss.
She's a blue belt. Like she is just phenomenal. And she decided to do her first competition as a blue belt. She never did one as a white belt. But that's because she is in the older division and she's also super freaking tiny. She's like 115 pounds. So it's very hard for her to find people in her weight class and in her belt bracket. Yeah. So she finally did one right before COVID hit. So I think it was February of last year. It was Fuji. And she was super excited. She was just all giggles and just like, this is gonna be so much fun. I can't wait to go out there and see what's going on. She slap bumped the girl and immediately got taken down. Like, the girl just charged at her. And Tracy was just like, what just happened? Like, holy cow, that was insane. And it was just kind of a reality check for her. And pretty much, I'm only telling this story not to like say that what she did was wrong, because I don't think what she did was wrong, but I'm saying it because you have to understand that when you go out there, it is not training anymore. It is do or die.
Yeah.
And she figured that out.
You gotta be ready for anything.
And her next one, she knew that going into her next match that same day, and she survived it. She immediately was like, okay, I gotta amp this up now. This is not fun training, slap bump, let's go. This is slap bump, okay, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Like, it's different. And that's why you really have to get into the mentality, if you're thinking about competing, that you need to have that adrenaline to go out there. Otherwise, you're gonna fall flat.
Yep. And every gym is different, but no matter how much you train for competition in the gym, you're not gonna be, breaking each other's arms in the gym or choking each other out in the gym as much as you can to prepare for that. The level of intensity in an actual competition is just always going to be higher than it is when you're training.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you are thinking about competing, we have great diet tips for you, or I have great diet tips for you. He just listens to me.
I eat what she makes. It works.
I'm the chef in the house. I cook all the time. He doesn't know how to even boil water. So
nope.
We have a good competition diet. I actually have a whole list. I'm a big list person. You might figure that out throughout this series. But I have a bunch of lists of what to eat for competition, how to build up for competition, what your protein should be, what your vegetables should be, what your portions should be, all that stuff. And so if you are, like I said, if you are thinking about competing, and even if you don't train at Fluid, let me know. Like, I'll help you get prepared. I may not do it, but I'll help you.
I'll help you too. I'll give you some tough rolls.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, we could probably talk for hours and hours and hours about jiu-jitsu in general. We actually do. It's kind of annoying. We feel like we annoy our friends. So it's good that we train together, because we can talk about it for hours and not get bored. Whereas our friends are probably like, oh my God, shut up, stop talking about it.
I don't care about loop chokes, Nick.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
We could really go on and on and on forever. But, we're trying to break this up into segments. So today we did want to talk about competition, and there's so many sub things that we could be going into, but we're just not going to. And I think we're going to probably call it here, and we'll try again next week, right?
Yeah, so thanks for listening. If you liked, like our channel, share it with your friends, comments. We'll talk to you guys about it later.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great day.